Monster Hunter is known for many a monster. Its franchise-wide roster is well over 200, and a good bit of the monsters have not been seen for a while. Personally, it's not just myself that wants a good bit of them to return. I am going to talk about a few of them I mainly want to see back. So starting off from the top, it's Gamoth. Everyone wants Gamoth back. This is probably one of the most requested monsters of the Fated 4, primarily because it's the most memorable, and it's the one that hasn't been seen since its latest iteration that we have had, particularly within its slot of Generation 4 that it got within Monster Hunter. And I must say, I previously made the statement saying that they're probably not going to add it due to size restrictions, or model restrictions, or even skeleton restrictions onto the game itself. But then I came to think, well, we have Jyn Darren. We also have Gormagala that's so big that you really can't fit it on your screen properly. Same with Jyn Darren. So at that point, why not have it? You could do the same thing that Mizutsune has, which is break a few parts, and suddenly it becomes a variation of normal Gamoth and Elder Frost Gamoth, because that would be a very neat concept to do, particularly with a monster that fundamentally has been seen for a long time. Now, with that said, monsters that have not been seen for a long time, I don't want normal Diablos back. I want its variation to be its sole proprietor within Monster Hunter Wilds. I'm not talking standard Diablos, I'm not talking black Diablos, I'm not even talking Monoblos. I'm talking Bloodbath Diablos. And if you want, sure, you can substitute Monoblos into this idea, because it also works for its descriptor of only gas, no retreat, and zero strategy in mind with only attack applies to both of them. And fundamentally, the same idea can apply to the Wraths, because really, you gotta think about it. We've had standard Diablos, we've had black Diablos, we've had Rathalos, we've had Rathian, we've had Silver Wrath, we've had Gold Wrath, we've had Azure Wrath, we've had Pink Wrath, we've had all the standard Wraths, we've had all the standard Diablos. Can we get the non-standard, the fun versions, the things that aren't normal, the things that are kind of weird but make sense from a sense of ecology? Now, what would they do for Wraths? Well, there's a thing in Monster Hunter Frontier known as Unknown, or as I don't joke, when it translates to English, it literally means Ra-Ro, R-A-R-O. Yeah, it's stupid, but this thing is meant to be, quite literally, a combination of a genetic sheer abomination of every single Wrath variant shoved together in black because of it. It even has upgraded versions known as Supremacy Unknown and Solstice War Unknown. That name is objectively one of the best that it could have. Now, I wholeheartedly say, Capcom, give us hunters the fun variants of base monsters that have long-standing showing within the franchise, particularly in 6th generation, if we're not going to get the 200-plus roster. For the main reason being, if the monsters have showed up from 1st to 5th generation subsequently basically every time, such as the Wraths and Diablos have, why keep showing them in their standard form if we already know how their standard form fights and stuff of that? You can keep updating the skeleton and basic mesh models through adding in the variants as their base. And you gotta think about it. Bloodbath Diablos makes sense for the Forbidden World, or the Forbidden Lands. It makes sense because it's Wyveria. Wyveria was basically just doing whatever they wanted to monsters. So what's to say that they have a bunch of Bloodbath Diablos just running around because they just decided for a long time, let's just start taking their horns, crushing them, and beating them up. And suddenly you have a bunch of Bloodbath Diablos wanting to murder everybody. Pretty simple, pretty easy story descriptor, and in the case of the Black Rathian, Ra-Ro, again, that's a really dumb name, they could quite literally tie it into the story of the Guardian monsters and how this monster is kind of like Zoshia, but basically a test bed for it, because of its nature as a combination of every single Wrath, where you have the Guardians, you have the test bed of the unknown, and then you have Zoshia. Basically the middle step of how they figured out how to combine random genetic strands of various monsters, not just resurrect monsters through the process of becoming Guardians. It's very simple, but also a very neat idea for a story approach. I'm not a story writer professionally, but even I can see that this take would be very interesting to be done in this world. Now, if you thought Bloodbath Diablos was weird, or even Unknown Black Rathian was weird, be prepared for this. This video is going to be really weird, because I'm now going to talk Jyn Darren Morin. And if you want, you can also include maybe Dalamador in here, because I very much enjoy the fights of Jyn Darren Morin, Dalamador, and Zora Magdaros, because they all do something very specific, very unique, very special, which is the monster's body becomes part of the arena itself. It becomes an aspect where there's mining nodes. It becomes an aspect where you literally have to climb it to break certain body parts. You have to do certain things to continue the fight. You have to enact actions upon the monster itself, not just start at base camp and hunt monster around the map. You have to actively interact with the body itself as if you are hunting a giant monster in real life. That's how it would go. The idea of having to run around, climb, break, do specific actions to a monster just to make it possible to kill makes my mind go, you know what? That's a neat fight. We need more unique fights that fundamentally defy the standard idea of start at base camp, run around map, hunt monster. That, I understand, is the base nature of Monster Hunter, but having a few fights that defy that and give you something unique makes it to where those fights are memorable. They become something that you're going to want to do because they might give something that is a unique gear. They might stir a certain emotion. They might stir a certain thing that makes you think that, you know what, I really like this fight. And personally, I think they actually give what is probably one of the most Monster Hunter experiences you can have, because you're not just hunting a monster from base camp, running around the world, tracking, doing the whole 9 yards. You are literally having to debilitate, execute, and figure out a plan to fight a monster 15, 20, 30 times your height. It's the most Monster Hunter feeling you could have. Now, if you thought this was weird, I'm going to talk about Elder Dragons, because, of course, the person who talks about Elder Dragons so much wants more Elder Dragons in the game, particularly ones we haven't seen. And if you see the one on screen, you know I'm going to talk about weird ones. Things like Lao Shang Long, Yamasukami, Cedius, Dire Moralis, and two I literally can't pronounce because they come from Frontier, which is a Japanese exclusive game, and Monster Hunter Online, which is a China-exclusive MMO. Now, I understand the exclusive MMOs for China and Japan are maybe not the most liked in the West because of how they were locked behind the barriers for those nations. I understand why they did that, but here's the thing. Sometimes the Western audience has to drop being somewhat spiteful for being able to look past that and realize those games have some of the best monster designs. They introduced two of the most unique weapons in the case of the Tonfa and the Magnet Spike, in which the Tonfa quite literally can swap between long and short mode, being able to swap what areas bounce, what don't bounce, what's weak and what's not weak, being able to quite literally become a walking fist to where I genuinely think the Admiral from Worlds should have been a Tonfa user, because he was willing to start throwing hands with a Rajang. And finally, these games gave you some of the most interesting and eye-catching designs for monsters that you could expect from this franchise. I mean, look at what's on screen. This thing's based on Elatrian, but it does not look like an Elatrian. It looks like Elatrian literally ate elements and embodied them into its flesh. It's amazing. And the one specifically from Online, which I believe it's pronounced something like Mephistopheles, it's along that line. It genuinely looks like you took the corpse of Fatalis and fed it a bunch of elemental energy, and suddenly it became walking Death Reaper itself. I love these designs. They are amazing. They are something that we should see again. And the best part about these two dragons, particularly from Online and Frontier, are they are presumed dangerous first class dragons. Meaning, bluntly, you could use them the same way you use Fatty, you use Elatria, you use Dire Morales, you use Safi Jiva, you use Zoshia. You could use them the same way, and they would be perfect for it. There is literally a cutscene in Frontier after you do enough damage where it shows the thing going up in the air in the arena just destroys itself because you just made a dragon that is capable of destroying nations really angry. Now, if you didn't think that was enough, the one from online is even more interesting. I don't have footage of it because I really can't find the best footage, but the fight is just an absolute spectacle. I recommend it. Now, I wish that these games had the Excel axe so we could have more footage of the Excel axe, but the Excel axe comes from Monster Hunter Explorer, which is particularly a phone game. But just like its other form of media, Monster Hunter is known for pulling some of its best ideas from its phone games, its MMOs, and in some cases, its ecology books or art books, weirdly enough. But with everything said, I'm Kat. God bless, stay safe. I want to hear what monsters you want in the game. I want to know what you want to see back. Do you want to see Tonfa? Do you want to see Magnet Spike? Do you want to see Excellax? Do you want to see more? What Elder Dragons do you want back? Give me ideas. If you got ideas for videos, put them down below. God bless. See ya.